There's been a lot that's been going on this season with the injuries, the streak. Does a win like today sort of feel like a weight lifted off your shoulders?
Oh, maybe not my shoulders. I mean, the guys were feeling it. You know, been a long 6 weeks. That's for sure. For them, as much or more than our staff. It's hard on guys. Their expectations were high, and Nate. He's not playing the way Nate's capable of, but he's pushing through with a couple ankles that are tender. We don't have our quarterback Jackson. Dev was supposed to be our defensive stopper. Big E was just starting to play well, and he gets hurt. So, the consistency that I keep harping for has been hard just because we haven't had a rotation. Guys don't know when they're going in. I don't know how many starting lineups we've had, but we've had a bunch. We don't have what you should have in February. A rotation, everything set in stone. Getting ready to play your best basketball. We're way behind because of just inconsistent lineups, not knowing who's available, who's not available. But you go into the year, you got Nate as your preseason all-conference. You got Jackson as your preseason all-conference. KJ coming back. You feel really good about those three. TK, and then Dev was supposed to be our defensive stopper. And he's been out a lot, and even when he's been in, he's been nursing a groin injury. So it just been tough on him. Injuries are tough. It hurts the team, but guys want to play. They want to play their best, and it's awfully difficult when you're banged up.
Well, Takai maybe talked about the importance of getting to the line for both of them. One 8 for 8, Nate 8 for 11. Just what were your thoughts on their ability to draw fouls and get in contact and get to the line and make their shots?
Well, both teams shot free throws really well. They were 20 of 24. We had to match them, with 21 to 25. But no, it's we really shot them good. That's important every game. But getting to the line, throwing it inside, I think most of Nate's or all of Nate's free throws, we threw it inside. You're not getting fouled shooting threes. So he gets 11 free throws. You look back, Purdue, I think he shot 14. I think he shot 13 at Indiana and 11 tonight. And like I said, all of them are not from shooting jumpers. Throwing the ball inside. He's got to get in there and wrestle around. And it's physically exhausting when you do that, when people are holding you and grabbing you. It wears on you. But that's, gets him to the line, and that's where we got to have him.
We didn't play 16 minutes in the second half. Maybe part of it, as you mentioned, is like the rotation is running short. But what did he give you in his minute, and is there a particular reason why he played that much other than the first stretch?
He played better. He turned it over there late at that particular time with their ball pressure. Drew had a couple turnovers start second half, so I went with Way, and Way wasn't turning it over. And it's not rocket science. We got to get shots. We had 4 turnovers, I think, in the first 4 minutes of the. KJ had 2, Drew, TK, I can't remember, but we had 4 turnovers really quick, and they got it back to tied or even there, because of our turnovers. Again, when you shoot. We shot 50% from the field, 51 from 3, and 84 from the line. But, they got 7 more shots than we did because of our turnovers. We had 15 turnovers. They had 9. So there's 6 shots right there that, some of our turnovers led to easy baskets, which is a double whammy. So, again, with the exception of the turnovers in the second half, 9 of them, and I think that's what it was, I thought we did a lot of good things offensively. But to answer your question, Way got more time because until late there, he handled it pretty good and didn't turn it over.
And then a little bit follow on that, like you mentioned, because the starting lineup was instantly injury. So a lot of the rotation guy, even new landings, they have to come up, and then you're playing the best in the conference. Is that like extra pressure to those guys, like younger players?
Oh, without a doubt. You know, there's pressure on the guys. You know, they know we're losing. Our expectations coming in the season were a lot higher than where we are now, which adds a lot more pressure to us. You know, we've had a decent run in the last few years, and you know, the expectations were to do the same thing this year, and it hasn't happened. So yeah, the guys are feeling it, and you know, that's what I've said. You know, we're old, but those guys, it wears on them, you know, and like I said, it was a long 6 weeks for everybody. You know, we're not used to that, and so it was a long stretch.
In this era, in this portal era, how hard when you're going through a stretch is it to just have guys keep like the day-to-day focus that you need to be able to compete and win when I think from like the outside perspective, it seems like if things go wrong, everyone can just decide to leave.
Yeah, you know, I guess it's like any relationship. You know, fortunately, I've been married for 42 years, and you know, my wife, you know, she's all in, I'm all in. You know, we go through the ups and downs. You know, when you got guys that are all in like Nathan, you know, he fought his tail off to get back. You know, he wasn't supposed, this was supposed to be his first game back, but he played last weekend because he was in the training room all the time wanting to come back. Well, that's a 5-year guy, you know, and so, you know, and our other guys are hurt. You know, I mean, it's not like they're not trying to come back. They are trying to come back. But when you got guys that, you know, they got 1 foot in, 1 foot out, it's tough. And I'm not saying I don't know if we got guys like that or not. You know, I'm worried about the next game. You know, if guys, you know, aren't all in at the end of the year, we'll know it, they'll know it, and they'll have to go a different direction. We'll have to go a different direction. You know, it's not the right way. You know, you're supposed to learn to fight adversity. That's one of the great things about college athletics is you learn how to fight adversity. When stuff doesn't go your way, you fight through it. And that's what I keep telling our team. You know, we're going to be judged on how we fight this. If we give in to it, you know, our former players are really going to be upset with us. You know, there's one thing about having a bad record. There's another thing about throwing in the towel. Well, those are two different dynamics, all right? That, you know, I've been disappointed. I was disappointed with the second half at Nebraska. I was disappointed with our rebounding at Washington, and I was disappointed with our defense against Indiana in the second half. Those 3 particular times, I've been very disappointed in our team. Other than that, I haven't done a good enough job. They haven't done a good job. We haven't done a good enough job to win games. But the only 3 times that I've been disappointed in them is the efforts in those 3 halves, basically. So, again, you're judged by how you handle adversity, and that's never going to change. Those guys need to learn that, because it doesn't matter if you're 18, 20, or if you're 40, or you're 60, or 67. You know, if you don't stand in there and handle adversity, you won't be a good husband. You won't be a good father. You know, your career won't be the same, because nobody's career goes like that. Nobody's family life goes like that. You know, it's so how do you respond when you're here? How do you handle that? And we're here. So, like I said, other than those 3 halves, I thought we've handled it. The guys have stayed together. They've practiced. They've tried to listen. They're trying to do what we want them to do. I get frustrated because, you know, we're not where we should be on February 14th, obviously. But I've got to take my share of responsibility for that. They got to take their share, and then we got to fight it through together. And Tuesday's another opportunity against Minnesota. So get to bed tonight, get to practice tomorrow, 1 o'clock. Let's get focused on Minnesota and go see what we can do. We can't change the past. All we can change is the next 6 games and hopefully the tournament. So, again, that's a long answer to a relatively simple question. But that's what we're talking about with the team. You got to learn to fight adversity. And, sometimes guys might jump quicker than they used to, because everything, just so, pay me this, pay me that, and guys would, fight through it, and stay. So I don't know. It's just different. It's just different. And I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying it's right, but it is different. And, we had guys, 2014 who fought it, 2015 who fought it. Chris Boucher tears his ACL, we fight it. And Folly Dante, you talk about a kid that fought adversity, 2 knee surgeries. Now he's got another torn ACL. He's fighting it again. But he learned how to fight adversity. And that's why he's in the pros. That's why Chris Boucher keeps hanging around, because he fought adversity and fought through it. And that's a valuable lesson, and it's one of the lessons over the years that I've seen a lot of guys really benefit from. And so I don't know if we're losing part of that. That would be sad if we did. But there are a lot of, guys that have transferred and done a great job, and so that's the positive of it. So a lot of positives, but there are a lot of negatives also.